Universidade Nova de Lisboa awarded the Doctor Honoris Causa title to Radoslaw Sikorski, President of the Polish Parliament. The ceremony took place March 25, 2015 at Nova's Rectorate. Born in Poland, Radoslaw Sikorski began his career as a freelance journalist publishing in newspapers such as The Spectator and The Observer. Currently, he is president of the Polish Parliament and, according to the Foreign Policy magazine, one of the top 100 global thinkers.
Em nome do magnífico reitor da Universidade Nova de Lisboa, professor Dr. António Manuel Bensabar Rendas, declaro aberta a cerimónia de atribuição do grau de Doutor Honoris Causa a Sua Excelência Radoslaw Sikorski, Presidente do Parlamento Polaco. A oração laudatória do doutorando vai ser proferida pelo Sr. Professor Dr. Nuno Severiano Teixeira, Vice-Reitor e Professor Catedrático da Faculdade de Ciências Sociais e Humanas da Universidade Nova de Lisboa.
A Polish Minister of Defense should not be a foreign citizen. Thus spoke his patriotic conscience, and he renounced to the British citizenship. It was while he held this office that we had a chance to meet, side by side, in the cities of Council of Ministers of European Union. Members sit alphabetically, so Poland and Portugal are side to side. We met briefly, however. I arrived in July 2006, and Sikorski left in February 2007. I remained for 3 more years next to his successor and my friend Bogdan Klicht. Sikorski returned in November to Donald Tusk's government as Minister of Foreign Affairs, and as such he left his mark both in the transatlantic relations and in the European context. As one other Polish thinker, Jan Zielonka, also professor at Oxford and a longtime friend, said in his latest book, more than the economic and financial crisis of the single currency, the true crisis in the European Union is a political one. It is firstly a crisis in cohesion between North and South, and secondly a crisis of trust between institutions and citizens. This is why Europe is today searching for a direction for its future. And that's why it needs, now more than ever, a true European leadership. That is also why examples of level-headedness, courage, and steadfast belief in the democratic and European ideals are today so much needed, and urgently so. And it is on behalf of those examples, magnificent rector, that I petition for Dr. Radoslaw Sikorski the awarding of the title of Doctor Honoris Causa by Universidade Nova de Lisboa. Dziękuję.
Today, Poland and Portugal have much in common. They are both politically free and with growing economies. And both of our economies are benefiting from trade with each other and from cross-investment. Suffice it to say that my bank in Poland is the Millennium Bank, and I buy my port at the Jeronimo Martin's Biedronka chain, the second largest employer in Poland. The second largest employer in Poland. My British education also acquainted me with the thought of Sir Karl Popper. I never met him, although I believe there are some of his students in this room. Sir Karl's intellectual response to the totalitarian regimes prevalent in his time, his 2 main works were written in 1944 and 1945 respectively, are again relevant today. In particular, the open society and its enemies seems particularly apt given how many enemies our open societies now face. That offer of ever closer association for those who are willing to share our rules still stands. But we cannot be blind to the fact that our Pacific invitation is often misinterpreted, ill-received, or rejected by those who fear tolerance and rules as a way of life. Both state and non-state actors in Europe's immediate neighborhood openly declare contempt for the alleged blandness of our values. They declare war on our world in word and deed, in broadcasts, on social media, by acts of terror, and by invasion. Instead of prosperity, they offer followers messianic heroics. They interpret our humanistic virtues as weaknesses, and their own propensity for violence as strength. But they are wrong. Yes, it's true that as democracies we are slow to respond or to mobilize. Yes, it's true that you can mislead, cheat, or bamboozle us for a while. Yes, it's true that for us violence is the last and not the first resort. But they underestimate our determination once we have decided we have no credible partner for dialogue. They underrate the capacity of our free societies to defend our way of life once we have been roused. The solution to Popper's tolerance paradox is to demonstrate to our enemies that our tolerant societies have the will and the capacity to defend themselves. We need to show, as nations, as Europe, and as the West, that neither terrorism nor international bullying will pass, that freedom is the possibility of constant renewal, and therefore offers a model of society that will ultimately prevail. This, I believe, is the supreme challenge that we all face. Thank you very much for your attention.
In our days, Europe is so concerned with acquiring and preserving rights that Europe is at risk of forgetting how to maintain values. Universities were part of a creation of European civilization to defend and maintain values. The Honoris Causa ceremony is a unique moment for universities to remember and praise these values. The ceremony which we have just witnessed is part of our way to defend and praise European values of culture, freedom, democracy, and above all, knowledge. Not just discovery knowledge, not just scientific knowledge, but shared knowledge and public knowledge beyond the information society. Europe has done more for development knowledge acquisition globally than any other continent, although it is not in the present the main beneficiary. Portugal, like Poland, is a nation of immigrants. Temporary immigrants, permanent immigrants that spread even sometimes without noticing European values. Perhaps, and I was also a temporary immigrant, the most important set of values that we share throughout the world is when immigrant families assemble in distant lands. We have a lot to do to rebuild Europe together, but I believe that the steps like the one we made today are in the right direction to place universities on the top of this rebuilding agenda. We just hope that European politicians accept universities as major partners in the process. My concern is that there is not much time left to maintain European values. Thank you.